Hey guys, it's Nana, and today I wanted to talk about the books that I read in January. So I kind of dedicated January to a few books that I really wanted to read in 2014 but didn't get around to. The first one was a book that I've been meaning to read since it first came out in 2013, I believe, and that is Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This story is about a woman named Agnes who is convicted of murder and she's been sentenced to death. It takes place in Iceland, and while she's waiting for her execution, she goes to stay temporarily with the family. You get to see the family's reactions about taking in a criminal, which is probably not something anyone would want to do. And you also get to hear her side of the story and what exactly happened that night and if she actually committed the crime that she's been accused of. I thought Burial Rites was so great, so well written. The writing was just really beautiful and really descriptive, and great at, I think, conveying the atmosphere of like winter and Iceland, which is a place I've never really thought about visiting before, but after reading this book I'm like, yeah, I want to go to Iceland, like I want to see what it's like. It's a split narrative. We get to hear portions in first person from Agnes's point of view, and then also third person from the family and the people around her. You really see in this book how someone can be misunderstood and how other people's perceptions of that person can change their life completely. So I really enjoyed this. If you like historical fiction, if you like beautiful writing, I think you will enjoy this one. And I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Annihilation by VanderMeer. This is the first book in a trilogy, and I hauled the trilogy several months ago, and I knew I would eventually get around to reading it. It's about an expedition of scientists who go to a place called Area X. The expedition is a group of 4 women, and there have been 11 previous expeditions before them, but they have not turned out so well. So the government keeps sending a new group of people to explore this area and map it and figure out what exactly is going on there. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about it, because it gets weird, but it's a good weird. It was a good weird. The writing is very direct, which makes sense because the biologist, the woman who's telling the story, is recording what's happening in a journal. So that's what we're reading, and in many cases she's speaking, you know, she's like, she knows someone will be reading her work, and so she's speaking to that person. I do want to read the other books in the trilogy. I don't think the second book picks up exactly where the first one left off, but at some point I do want to read those, and I did really enjoy the writing. I think I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. Then I read The Martian by Weir. And that was another book that I just heard so much about and everyone seemed to love it. It's about a guy named Mark who's an astronaut, and his team goes up to Mars for a mission, and a few days after they land there is a terrible sandstorm that ruins some of their equipment and they're forced to evacuate. And in the process of evacuating, Mark gets hit by some piece of the ship and gets pierced, and he flies off in the sandstorm, and his crew can't find him, and they figure that he's died, so they take off. And turns out he hasn't died. He's still alive, and the entire book is him trying to survive on Mars. So this one was really fun. Like, I didn't know it was gonna be humorous. Mark is like a funny guy. He's like a wise guy. He's always cracking jokes and being like, I'm stuck on a desolate wasteland. Great! You know, like, actually his situation is pretty dire, but he's always cracking jokes, which made it kind of fun. He just has to figure out how to survive. You know, he faces all kinds of obstacles, as you can imagine, but he is a scientist. He's a botanist and an engineer, so he's pretty skilled and pretty good at thinking on his feet. And I just enjoyed following the twists and turns of this. Part of it is told from Mark's point of view. He's keeping like a logbook, and part of it is told from everyone else's point of view, people on Earth, people in space. I'm excited to see the movie. I think this will make a really good movie. I was telling my friend that I somehow picture like Chris Pratt as Mark. I think he would make a really good Mark because he can be hilarious, but he can also, now I've seen him be serious, you know, like I can take him seriously. So I don't know, I think he'd really fit well in this role, but he's not Mark. Matt Damon is Mark in the movie, so yeah, that's not happening. But I don't know, if they're gonna do like a remake 5 years in the future, as they like to do with these things, maybe they'll cast Chris Pratt. If you're someone else who doesn't read a lot of sci-fi, I think this one is like a good place to start because it's pretty accessible. I will say the sciencey bits were not the bits that I was most interested in, but they didn't like bore me to tears or bog me down. During those bits I was not quite as interested as I was in everything else in the story. I really liked The Martian and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And then at the end of the month I was waiting and waiting and waiting for Station 11, and that didn't come in, but I did get another book from the library, and that's called The Good Girl by Mary Kubica, I believe. It's about a girl named Mia who comes from a wealthy family and she's kidnapped. And the story is told from her kidnapper's perspective and also her mother's perspective and also the detective who's looking for her. There are sections called Before and sections called After. So I'm not going to say anything else because it's supposed to be a mystery thriller, but this was definitely the dud of the bunch. I did not like this book. I mean, I didn't hate it, but I'm really bad at not finishing books, guys. Like, about 75 pages in, I was like, I'm not feeling any desire to finish this. Then I got to 100 and I was like, no, still not getting better. Anyway, the point is, I don't know, I have the hardest time stopping. Separate topic. But anyway, I was not really loving or enjoying this book at any point, but I kept reading. I had several problems with it. One, the characters were boring, completely flat. Like, I didn't feel anything about any of them, so that's no good. Two, I did not think the writing was that great. And there were also, so after I finished this and I was just like, what did I just read and why? I went on to Amazon and, I went onto Goodreads and was reading reviews, and I was like, it wasn't just me, like other people noticed this. There are like little hints of racism in some sections, like just the way she's describing certain characters. Like, as I was reading I was like, like that doesn't sit well with me. And then when I went and read reviews, people also said that they noticed that, so I was like, okay, it's not just me, it's not just me being crazy or something. And it's supposed to be like a mystery thriller. I thought it was completely predictable. I like mystery thrillers, but this was neither a mystery nor a thriller. Oh, guys, yeah. I had issues. Currently, I'm reading Station 11. I finally got my library copy. So I just started that yesterday, I think, and I'm about 100 pages in, and it's great. It's great. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I can tell right away that I'm gonna like a book, and that was the case with this one. Just in the first chapter, I was like, yep, like I think me and this book are gonna get along just fine. So that's such a nice feeling after the disappointment of The Good Girl. And then I have a few buddy reads planned for this month, I believe. I hope you guys are having a great day. If you want to tell me about any of the books you read in January, that would be awesome. Or if you want to tell me what you're planning to read in February, that would be cool too. If you want to talk to me elsewhere, I'm on Goodreads and Twitter and Instagram, and I'll leave my links down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! The books that I read in January were as follows. This set, I hauled 30 different thoughts going on right now. That is all I have to say. I really need that coffee now. Bye! Bye! Can't find my remote.